Today's topic is Strengthen Your Intuition for Success. And what we'll be sharing today is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda, who is author of this book, Autobiography of a Yogi. Could you raise your hand if you are familiar with this book? Okay, wonderful. I'm going to speak a little closer to the mic. How's that? Feels a little bit like I'm having the mic for lunch. I should also say that Tamil Aragamori Irika. Did you say what? Araga Mori Irika. Maybe it's easier if I speak more slowly. But En Tamil Ramba Araga Illa. If I were Konja Tamil Pesi Mudiyum, but if I were to give this lecture Tamila, the lecture Ramba Konjam also. For intuition, I could only say Unga Ninjam Gavaninga. Paklam. That would be all for today. So we'll continue in English if you will forgive us. So, when thinking about success, what we want for today, if there's one thought we want to leave you with today, it is to have the realization that the greatest success comes through intuition. Sorry, the audio recorder is misbehaving and is actually playing something instead of recording. If you could put it on record and unlock it. So, that in order to achieve the highest success, our inspiration is key. You see, how do we seek success? What do we seek success in? Of course, we can look for success in our professional lives. We can look for success in our work specifically. What I mean is this particular project, how to come up with a new solution, how to do it in a new way, how to create a new product, and so on. We also can look for success just in our family lives, in our interactions with others. It's very nice when things in the family are going smoothly, then it's a support for all the rest of our lives. And in some ways you could say it's supporting us at the most precious part of our lives. And when there is a lot of difficulty in the family because of either an external problem or internal conflict, it can be a great drain on our energy, on our openness and our hearts. And so we don't want to just think of success as some big wowie-zowie thing of I invented this new app, but also just a better way of flowing in our everyday being. One day we will have success even with this audio recorder. It's my fault, I moved it at the last minute. So, we want to, when we look for solutions, it can be very tempting to look at what has already been done. Study the field, understand the methods, look for the formulae, and follow them. And that it's very tempting to think that success depends on our level of knowledge, our level of information. But the challenge with this, and sort of the flaw in it, is that these systems that we might study themselves were created by inspiration. They were invented in a moment of clarity. The ways and customs even that we follow were created to serve the needs of their times. And if they serve the needs of our times, then they are right and true. But if they no longer fit exactly, we should have the courage to re-examine and see if what are the times and place that I'm in right now? What is that needing? So, for example, there can even be strangely, there can be great pressure to follow what has always been done when looking for new solutions. You see, there was a psychology experiment done in America and repeated actually in many places, where a group of subjects were brought in, and there were 4 people who were told to do something ahead of time, and 1 person who was innocent. And so on the board, the blackboard, were drawn 2 lines. On the top was a longer line, very obviously longer, and below it a shorter line. And so the four people who were in on the gag were told, say that the upper line, which is longer, say that it is shorter. And the innocent person then was observed to see what he would do. So when they asked the group, which line is longer, very often that first person would say the top line, and everyone else would say bottom line. Kandipa. Only the bottom line. And then he would say, no, the top line. No, it's the top. What are you saying? It's the bottom line. And so in 80% of the cases, 80% of those innocent people who were much maligned in this experiment, 80% eventually caved in and said, you are right. The top line is shorter. I was wrong. It's amazing the effect of peer pressure that way on our thinking. Okay, so we're adjusting the mic. All right, thank you. So, we should resist that temptation. I think the mic's a little too loud. We should resist that temptation of peer pressure, even peer pressure from our own thoughts, that who am I to think in any new kind of way? Who am I to forge a new trail? But remember that all of these, even all of previous knowledge, for example, Einstein, we all worship Einstein, rightly so, as a genius of our time. But remember that his own teachers said he would never amount to anything. That he said he thinks so outside the box that there's nothing that he'll ever do in life. And similarly, Edison, Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, or discoverer, I should say, of the light filament, his teacher said this boy is unteachable because he was flowing in a way that was not according to accepted practices. I had this experience as a math teacher. I would have some students, I would ask them this question that you follow, factor the polynomial, set it equal to 0, all these things, this is the system you're supposed to follow. And they would ignore all of that and just give an answer. And the answer was right, every time. And I was tempted to say, you can't have the right answer unless you've explained your reasoning, unless it follows the way that's always been prescribed. But they were going from a different way. Sometimes they would come up with their own methods that worked. And it was very inspiring to see how the fresh inspiration that they came to. Remember also, we're speaking of Thomas Edison, that he said success is 99% perspiration, which is easy in Chennai, and 1% inspiration. But you so often that formula is quoted saying, see, yes, 99% hard work and a little bit of inspiration. But you see, without that inspiration, there's nothing. He tried something like 10,000 filaments, or some huge number of tens of thousands of filaments before he found the right one. Anyone in his right mind would have given up after maybe 5,000. 5,000, imagine it. But he had that inspiration, he had that conviction that one would work. If we have 99% perspiration, but with no inspiration, then all we have is sweat. We just have hard work that doesn't necessarily have any direction. So that inspiration is what births new ideas, new solutions that are right for this moment. Again, this is true in family interactions. It can be helpful when, for example, getting into a debate, to not go along the same old lines of argument that we always use. It's practically scripted. It was this way with a relative of mine. First he would say this, and I would not like it. So then I would say this, and he would not like it, and then we would take turns for the rest of the evening until somebody eventually cried or left. And after repeating this pattern a few hundred times, you would think that we might have thought, why not try a different approach? In fact, a friend of mine suggested a different approach. He said, if you have somebody who's very aggressive and trying to assert his opinion, just let him talk. And I said, yeah, but, he said, just let him talk. He said, after he has said his piece and been able to be heard, then he will be more open to what someone else is trying to say. But as long as he is not given the microphone first, he'll just be waiting for his chance to grab it, and his ears will be shut. So I found that to be true, that I just let him talk. I might have had to grip the chair a little firmly, but I just let him get it all out. And when he finally had exhausted himself, he said, "Now, what is your view?" Wow, I mean, he'd never asked that before. So again, a little bit of experimentation, changing, looking for new solutions even in our dynamics. Even with a boss, for example. I noticed with my boss it was the opposite. Whenever I saw a boss in one job that I had, I would always try to say, "This is what I need from you." And I noticed that my boss tended to, whenever seeing me coming, go, the smile would disappear. And at one point my boss said, "Dharmarajan, you always have the worst timing." And I thought, as a mathematician, wow, always the worst timing? I mean, what is the probability that every time I could have the worst timing? I must be very skilled in this. But then it made me reflect, why would she say that? And I realized that whenever I saw her, which was not enough, I always went to ask her whatever need of mine she could fill. And instead, why don't I stop? It's amazing, it took me this long to figure out. Assess her situation. Is she busy? Is she going somewhere? Is she talking to someone else? Does she have an unreceptive look on her face? And if so, maybe I should wait. Because even though my need is great, the timing is not right. And more damage can be done by speaking at the wrong time than by waiting for the right time. Why? Because if you bring up the right thing at the wrong time, it doesn't work out. And then when you bring it up later, they say, yeah, you already said that. You see, we've already prejudiced the other person against the good thing because it came up at the wrong time. So better, I learned, to wait. Again, it sounds rather obvious, but life's lessons always are, once we get them, at least for me, through my thick head. So, the way not to follow the same well-worn ruts of habit, but to look for new solutions. So with success then, we want to open our minds up to new possibilities. And we're going to share with you a number of techniques today. This first technique I want to share with you is an affirmation. This is something that we're going to say together with concentration. In fact, the chant that we did was a bit of an affirmation also. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. And so that's a very helpful message to have in our minds over and over again. It may help you even to sing this chant from time to time to yourself. This is another affirmation we'll do now for success. I'll read these words on success. These are by Swami Kriyananda. True success means transcendence. It means finding what we really want, which is not outward things, but inner peace of mind, self-understanding, and above all, the joy of God. Outward success means transcendence also. It means rising above past accomplishments to reach new levels of achievement. Success can mean accepting failure too, when such acceptance helps us to transcend a false ambition. Every failure, moreover, can be a stepping stone to highest achievement. Success should not be measured by the things accomplished, but by our increasing understanding, ability, and closeness to God. Another way of saying that is it's not so important the things that we go through, but what we become as a result of them. I'll read the affirmation through once, and then let's do it together. I leave behind me both my failures and accomplishments. What I do today will create a new and better future, filled with inner joy. First, let's do this in a full voice. Again, let's sit up straight, so we can do this with energy. When we sit up straight, energy flows in the spine more easily than when the spine, like a hose, is pinched by us slouching. So let's do this with a full voice. I leave behind me.
I leave behind me
both my failures and accomplishments.
both my failures and accomplishments.
What I do today
What I do today
will create a new and better future,
will create a new and better future,
filled with inner joy.
filled with inner joy.
I leave behind me
I leave behind me
both my failures and accomplishments.
both my failures and accomplishments.
What I do today
What I do today
will create a new and better future
will create a new and better future,
filled with inner joy.
filled with inner joy.
And finally, a little more softly but with great concentration, I leave behind me
I leave behind me
both my failures and accomplishments.
all my failures and accomplishments.
What I do today
What I do today
will create a new and better future
will create a new and better future,
filled with inner joy.
filled with inner joy.
I should mention that all of these affirmations and other things we're sharing with you today, we will send you an email with all of this. If you've given your email address, if you haven't, be sure to do so at the end so we can send you all of these exercises. While we're sitting up straight, let's close our eyes. I'd like to read these words of Paramhansa Yogananda on success. Feel that this is Yoganandaji speaking directly to you. Is there a power that can reveal hidden veins of riches and uncover treasures of which we never dreamed? Is there a force that we can call upon to give health, happiness, and spiritual enlightenment? The saints and sages of India taught that there is such a power. They uncovered truths that we have overlooked or forgotten, and these truths will work for you, too, if you give them a fair trial. Your success in life does not altogether depend on natural ability. It also depends upon determination to grasp the opportunity that is presented to you. Opportunities in life come by creation, not by chance. They are either created now or were created at some time in the recent past or the distant past by yourself. Since you have earned them, use them to the best advantage. You can make your life much more worthwhile now and in the future if you focus your attention upon your immediate needs and then use all available information as well as your abilities to fulfill them. You must develop all the powers that God gave you, the unlimited powers that come from the innermost forces of your being. If you think correctly, you will find your goal even if you are enveloped in darkness. For your thoughts will inevitably bring you either to failure or to success, according to which thought is the strongest. Therefore, you must first thoroughly believe in your own plans, then use your talents to carry them out. Be receptive so that God will work through you. His laws work at all times, and you are always demonstrating success or failure according to the kind of thoughts that you habitually entertain. That is, if your trend of thought is ordinarily negative, an occasional positive thought is not enough to change the vibration to one of success. Don't run after your problem constantly. Let it rest at times, and it may work itself out. But see that you do not rest so long that the whole proposition eludes you. Rather, use these periods when your mental and physical efforts are in abeyance to go deep into the calm region where your inner self reigns. As soon as you are attuned with your soul, you will be able to think correctly regarding everything you do. And if your thoughts or actions have gone astray, they can be realigned. So, Yoganandaji concludes this talk on success by saying that if we tune into our soul intuition, we will get the answer. Intuition, the experience of intuition, is that of simply knowing the answer, as opposed to logically arriving at it. Yoganandaji defined intuition as the soul's power of knowing God. He said intuition is the soul's power of knowing God. Now, we can understand that in two ways. On the deepest level, we're put on this earth to find a higher potential for ourselves, find our soul's true potential to be our true self, ultimately to become one with God. That's what our power of intuition gives us. but also it is the soul's power of knowing not just God, which is everything, but anything else. Again, if you've had this experience of looking for an answer, not finding it, and then suddenly, there it is in your mind, just fully arrived. Or you could be thinking about something, wondering about what they're doing, and suddenly get an answer that turns out to be true. It arrives seemingly from nowhere, from above or from within. This is the experience of intuition. And it can be this way, that we receive information that we can't explain. Its source, we can't explain how we got it, it just arrives. The more you have this experience, the more natural it becomes. And in fact, it can be frustrating because intuition is great when it comes, and it's frustrating when it doesn't come. Waiting for an answer here, and nothing comes. So, someone asked Yoganandaji, can intuition be brought under one's conscious control? Can we, with by our choice, choose to be inspired? He said, absolutely. Take down this poem. He was preparing for a lecture, he was getting dressed, and right in the middle of it, he dictated a poem. I don't remember the whole poem, but it was something along the lines of, Father, when I was blind, I saw not a door that led to thee. But now thou hast opened my eyes, and I see doors everywhere, in the hearts of flowers, in friendship, in all beautiful experiences. Every gust of my prayer blows open a new door to thy presence. Something like that. And a reviewer, he put it in a book of his poems, and a reviewer in London who reviewed the book said, I can't resist quoting one of these poems that is the most beautiful to me, and it was that same poem. But intuition doesn't always come full-blown and with words, information, something we can communicate, that we can explain. This was what my intuition was. Sometimes intuition is just a feeling. We just have a sense. This is the right direction to go in. This person, I have a nervous feeling about. He seems perfectly wonderful on paper, and he's dressed very nice, but I have some hesitation I can't explain. We might call it instinct. But it's a feeling. We have to be able to feel in order to receive this positive encouragement or this note of caution. And so this can be frustrating if you've never had this kind of feeling or not aware of having had this feeling. I had these kinds of intuitive feelings in my earlier life, but I didn't recognize them. And it was only later that I learned to identify them and then in time to trust them, as they proved to be true. That's the ultimate test. We can have a very strong, clear feeling that it has to be true. But if it's not also calm, then it's not intuition perhaps, but desire. So we also have to compare those two. Thank you. I wonder why you thought I would need this. Pardon me now while I have a little bath. Let's see if we can run the ACs on pure intuition. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'll have it ready for the next, after 2 more minutes. So, we are looking for feeling, the ability to feel, first of all. And so, let me lead you through an experience that can help with awakening or deepening our ability to feel, to deepen our awareness. Feel, experience, and so on. Let's again sit up straight. And let's inhale and tense. Let me teach it to you in two parts. First, we're going to do a technique called the double breath, which is we inhale a short and long inhalation through the nose like this. And then a short and long exhalation through the mouth. Okay? So let's try that together. Short, long in, and then short, long out. Very good. Okay? Yoganandaji said this double breath brings in more oxygen than usual to replenish the blood and releases more carbon dioxide than a usual breath. So, now what we're going to do is when we do the double breath, we're going to tense the whole body. And then when we throw the breath out, we're going to relax the whole body. Okay? But as we tense, we want to tense gradually, Not just suddenly tense, suddenly relax, but gradually tense till even the body is vibrating, and then gradually relax down to complete relaxation. It takes more awareness to do this continuously more and then continuously less. Okay? So let's actually begin with the tensing first. Let's tense the body low tension, medium tension, high tension until even the muscles are vibrating with the tension, if you can, if you're strong. And now let's relax to back to medium tension, back to low tension, and now to zero. You see how that takes more awareness, more control, more effort? So, let's put these two together. Let's do the double breath and tense. Vibrate, and then exhale, slowly relax. Okay, now that you understand the technique, let's close our eyes and inhale and tense. Vibrate, and then exhale, relax. One more time on your own. Now with your eyes closed and sitting up straight, try to feel. How does your body feel? You could first feel, how did my muscles feel? You may feel a warmth from the tension and relaxation. You may feel a good feeling, the good feeling of blood circulation or of energy moving. Try to sit up straight and still to be aware of what you're experiencing. Try to feel your toes, your feet. Be aware of your legs, lower legs and upper legs. See if they aren't tingling after the relaxation from the tension. Be aware of your abdomen, stomach. Try to feel the sensation in your arms, the lower arms and the upper arms. See if they don't feel lighter or more alive. And finally, the shoulders, the chest, the heart. Any sensation at all, if you're having, if this is new for you. But ultimately we want to move beyond the physical awareness to a deeper awareness of a calmness. Even physical relaxation can lead us to mental relaxation. Okay. So with our eyes closed and sitting up straight, we'll do one more technique, which is to not only feel, but to become calm. And this is called measured breathing. We will inhale to a count of 6, hold the breath, and then exhale, all to a count of 6. So I'll demonstrate it for you once. We'll do this all through the nose. We're going to inhale slowly. Then I'm holding my breath. And then I'm exhaling slowly, trying to make it last 6 counts. Let's do this together now. Inhale slowly to 6 counts. Hold your breath. Exhale slowly. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Hold the breath. Exhale. Do this twice more on your own of inhale, hold, exhale. And with eyes still closed, let's listen to these words about intuition in the form of discrimination, meaning being able to separate truth from error. As science judges the relative speed of any object by one constant, the speed of light, so the devotee judges the relative merit of any idea by the one constant, God. Discrimination is clear only when it relates everything to the eternal absolute. Thus, while the intelligence may toy with ideas endlessly, discrimination asks, is this wisdom? Is it of God? True discrimination is not even the product of reasoning. It is soul intuition. Reasoning, even from the highest point of reference, is uncertain compared to the inspirations of superconsciousness. To discriminate clearly, meditate first. Ask God to guide your understanding. I'll read the affirmation through once, and then we can do it together. Resolutely I quell my inclinations, which means I silence them, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. So let's do this with great concentration. Resolutely I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. Resolutely I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. Now in a whisper, but still with concentration, don't drop the energy. Resolutely I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. Resolutely I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. And now finally, silently, just mentally, with great concentration, resolutely I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. Resolutely I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You could feel the peace in the room, couldn't you, after that affirmation? Yoganandaji's words are so soothing and calming. When we think about intuition and success, the thought of success could never happen without making the right decisions. Isn't that so?
Yes.
In fact, you can say success is completely based on making the right decisions and then the actions after those decisions. And so we want to have those right decisions. And success can be on any level. You know, we're a spiritual organization, but people who are spiritual also are successful in businesses. They're successful in their relationships and their families. They're successful on all levels on this planet. And that's what God wants us to do, is to be successful and to live our Dharma as best we can. And so we want to make the right decision. This is the thing that racks our brains or eats our brains so much and so often. How often do we say, give me the answer, I need to know the answer, and we get all stressed and unhappy about it. We pray, we say, the prayer wasn't answered, I never got the answer, and we don't know why. Why wasn't that prayer answered, or why did it seem that prayer was not answered? We make a decision and it was wrong, and I was convinced that's what I should have done, and why was it wrong? And so then we become frustrated that we can't access the inner information we have in order to make the right decisions. Sometimes we'll make decisions just based on rational thinking. If A, then B, then C. And we find, oh, that didn't quite work out all the time either. Just making it based on weighing, okay, here's a list of all the positives, here's a list of the negatives. Okay, the list of the positive for this decision is this long and the negatives for this, so I'll pick this one. That's using the rational mind to make a decision. That can get us to a point. When you study the lives of very successful people, you find out that they base many of their decisions on what we would call the gut feeling. The decision based on intuition. Not just a logical based type decision, but an intuitive decision. And so where does this intuition come from? We want to know. Tell us. The Yoganandaji talks about 3 different states of mind that we live in and out of throughout a day. One is the subconscious mind, one is the conscious mind, and one is the superconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is the part of us that acts without thinking much, the part that is living in habit, the part that is not thinking too much about what we're doing, but just kind of going along with it, listening to others, being swayed by what other people think. And a lot of times we find out if we live in this lower energy state that we don't have a great outcome. So energy is key. When we have the low energy, not so good decisions. Then there's another state of mind, the conscious mind. This is the mind where we make logical decisions, where we look at life logically. I'm sitting at the computer, I am conscious, I'm doing action, I'm making things move, I'm very aware and awake, I have full energy, and my heart isn't necessarily open, but I'm being effective. I'm effective today because I am thinking straight and doing what I need to do. Then there's the superconscious state. And this is a little bit harder to access if we're used to just living in either a low energy tamasic state, or if we're living in just an aware, awake, by the book, I'm thinking, I'm rational, I'm logical, this is what I value the most. If we're just living in those places, then the superconscious might seem a little unattractive to people who are very rajasic, people who want to just make things move without wanting to open the heart and listen to intuition. So the superconscious mind is that inspired place we can get to. Very often we get to it through meditation. But it can be accessed even outside of meditation as well. It can be accessed through, I'm going to do an exercise with you, just the position of the eyes can access it. The opening of the heart can access the superconscious. A prayer can help access the superconscious. That it's that state of mind that is not relying on logic. It's that state of mind that brings an answer to our minds, and we say, where did that answer come from? And we find out that was a good answer. So where did that answer come from? Sometimes we hear the small voice in our mind that says, do this, do that, and we sometimes go with it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we find when we go with it, it was right, or if we say, never mind, I don't want to listen to you, we think later, I should have listened to it. For instance, this morning, did we have a talk here once before? Did we talk here before? No. Normally we talk here at Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan in the upper floors, and we were in one other room before, I don't remember where, but lately we've been in this upper room. Well, it has really good fans and air conditioning and that kind of stuff. This is a mundane example. However, it's very true. So I was getting ready to leave, and the thought came to me, why don't you bring your battery-operated fan? And I thought, well, I hear that, because normally I don't get the intuition, bring the fan. But I made a choice. I said, well, okay, this may be right. However, we've made by before in hot rooms. It might be just fine. And so I said, I know that you've told me something, but I'm making a conscious decision. I'm not going to deal with the fan. But of course we got here, and it would have been nice to have the fan. So these are just small things where we decide to listen or not, and we find the results of our not listening to that inner voice. This workshop that we're giving right now will give you, you got the affirmations. So affirmations are an important part to accessing superconsciousness. Affirmations help put our mind in a state like japa to be receptive. They also help us raise our energy, and they help us to quiet down. So very often, if you are out on the street walking around, or you're just coming from bad traffic, you try and come home and meditate or be quiet, you can't. Your mind is going like this. You need to settle down. So affirmation is a wonderful way to settle yourself down, to be able to get to a quieter place to make decisions in your life. And you can use them at work. You can use them in the middle of an argument with your spouse. You might say, okay, we're arguing, we're yelling at each other. I'm going to go in my corner of the room, and I'm going to get calm, and you do what you need to be calm, and then you come together. And that's a wonderful way to resolve conflict between people. But you can use an affirmation to help calm you down when you're in an excited state. Now, if you meditate, you don't usually want to start. You want to start from that calmer state. You don't want to start from an excited state. Also, when you want to make a good decision, you don't want to be in an excited state. So close your eyes for a moment and think of one issue you would like to resolve in your life. Just think about it. We're just going to take 30 seconds. Okay. You can open your eyes now. Now, so many things come with issues we want to resolve. They could be highly emotional, especially if they're attached to children. I want my child to do this. Or if they can be highly emotional though. And so when you think of that issue, and you think, I want to have a resolution to this issue, the resolution may not come because you're in a highly agitated or emotional state, or the issue itself is a very emotional issue. And so Yoganandaji gave us many techniques to really calm ourselves down a little bit in order to tune into the quiet that is trying to give us the answer. So one of the exercises I want us to do is to experiment with these 3 states of consciousness, and you can feel for yourself which state might feel the best for solutions. Of course, some solutions are fine in the conscious state, but some of those hard questions that we have are best solved through intuition and through a higher state of consciousness. So this first exercise, we're going to play with the position of our eyes. So the state that is most related to the lower state of mind, the tamasic mind, the mind that is habit-based, is when we're looking down. And then the conscious mind is when we're looking straight ahead. And the superconscious mind is when our eyes are uplifted. So, starting with the eyes looking down, I'm going to read to us something that Swami Kriyanandaji wrote that will get us into the mood of the eyes looking down. Now, the eyes are not closed. The eyes are just looking down. So he writes, feel yourself drifting downward as if sinking through water, through forests of waving seaweed, ever deeper into a green, misty world of fantasy. Enjoy this pleasant sense of freedom from earthly responsibility, from demanding projects, from fears, from worldly ambitions. And then this is an affirmation that goes with this. I'll read it first and then I'll have you read this with me. Don't fall asleep. Through slowly drifting waters, I sink into subconsciousness. So repeat after me. Through slowly drifting waters, I sink into subconsciousness. Through slowly drifting waters, I sink into subconsciousness. Through slowly drifting waters, I sink into subconsciousness. Okay, for the next state. With a burst of willpower, open your eyes and gaze straight ahead. Feel as though you are fully aware, fully awake. Let's say this affirmation. I'll say it first. With a burst of energy, I rise to greet the world. With a burst of energy, I rise to greet the world. With a burst of energy, I rise to greet the world. With a burst of energy, I rise to greet the world. Remember, the eyes are open, looking ahead. Some people were doing it with the eyes closed. So now, we are fully awake. Do you see how when you're in a sleepy state of mind, you can move the position of your eyes and shift out of that sleepy state? This is a very important thing to realize, that we can shift between states of consciousness at will. Okay? So the next time you're with someone who might be a little boring, or you're on the bus and you want to experiment with this, or you're in a lecture like this and you're feeling a little tired, you can go from the eyes looking down, just quickly open them and awaken yourself by feeling fully present, and experiment with that. Yoganandaji said the more we experiment with the position of the eyes as well as shifting between the states of consciousness, the easier it will be for us over time to just be able to, at will, choose our state of consciousness. So this next state of consciousness, I can't say samadhi is guaranteed in this. That might require a bit more meditation. But at least we can try and get ourselves into an elevated state of mind. Now, one of the things we did earlier was chanting. Chanting is a very good way to shift ourselves into a higher state of mind. So in this way, we're looking straight ahead. Now gently raise your eyes just slightly above the horizon. Not too high. You don't want to make your eyes feel tense, but just raise your eyes slightly. Take a nice deep breath. Breathe in again. Be open to inspiration coming. Be open to your heart. Allow your heart to open in this. And let's say this affirmation. It's a little bit longer, so you can say it after me. I awaken thy light. I am joyful, I am free. I awaken thy light. So I awaken thy light.
I awaken thy light.
I am joyful, I am free.
I am joyful, I am free.
I awaken thy light.
I awaken thy light.
I awaken thy light.
I awaken thy light.
I am joyful, I am free.
I am joyful, I am free.
I awaken thy light.
I awaken thy light.
I awaken thy light.
I awaken thy light.
I am joyful, I am free.
I am joyful, I am free.
I awaken thy light.
I awaken thy light.
Take another deep breath. Do you feel a difference? Feel a difference between just conscious looking ahead and the uplifting of the eyes? There's a more elevated feeling in the room as well with that. You can do this yourself any time. And it's a wonderful experiment to realize, oh, I'm feeling kind of tired, or oh, I'm feeling kind of heart closed and I want to have more inspiration. It's a wonderful thing to do, this thing. I'm going to check the time. So Swamiji wrote over and over again about how we can access our intuition, and he gave us a very important way to do that. Now that we've done some affirmation, we've done some chanting, we did this experiment with the eyes, we're going to move to a new part of this. And what Swamiji said, and Yoganandaji talked about this a lot also, was that when we want to receive an answer to a question, we think of the Agya Chakra, the spiritual eye here, as the sending station, sending out a question, sending out a request for an answer, sending something out this way. And then we listen with the heart. The heart is the receiving station. So this is the sending station, this is the receiving station. See how that's different than just, if we're being logical, it's all up here. We're not listening here. When we're just in logic state, the heart can be closed. We're just thinking A plus B equals C, and no, that's not a good idea, and maybe that's a good idea, but let's do a cost-benefit analysis, and that type of thing. But when we use our intuition radiating station and our intuition receiving station, we might find we get a different answer. And so we want to feel and start utilizing the Agya Chakra and the heart chakra in this way. How often, though, we all know this intuitively anyway. When something doesn't feel right in the heart, we're not going to do it. Sometimes we'll bypass that feeling, but really, we very often do listen to the heart. But when we pray, when we send out a request, I have a problem, I want to know the answer, very often we don't know how to send that out in a clear way, and we also don't know how to receive the answer in a clear way. And so I'm going to do another exercise with you that helps us feel the power of the Agya Chakra and feel the power of the heart chakra, heart being receptive, Agya. So do this with me also. You can close your eyes with this. Okay, so first we're going to do the heart chakra. Focus your attention on the heart chakra, the Anahat, located in the area here. Draw your shoulder blades together several times so that you can feel it. Now, we're tuning in actually not to the physical heart, we're tuning into the astral body, and the location of the chakra is in the astral body, slightly behind the heart. Visualize a great sphere of light expanding from that area of your heart. Feel this sphere encompassing everything around you. Feel the sphere filling up this room, filling up this block, going all the way throughout Chennai, through your family home, fully expanded in light, throughout all of India, throughout the world. Just feel that light expanding and expanding. Try to feel that everyone and everything is bathed in that light. Sit quietly, keep your body relaxed. Try to feel an actual sensation of warmth or energy in that chakra. Okay, so now we're going to shift to the Agya Chakra, the spiritual eye here. And so now bring your attention to the Agya Chakra, or the point between your eyebrows. Knit your brows together. That's a good way to kind of figure out where that is. If you squeeze your eyebrows together, you can tell that it's focusing at this point. You might see some light here. It might be white light, it might be blue light. If you don't see light, don't worry about it. Concentrate on projecting a beam of light from this point, like the light coming from the projection booth in a movie theater. Feel this beam moving outward through space with great power, driving away all shadows of pain and sorrow. Use your willpower to send this light further and further into space. Now relax and feel a radiant center of light and energy just at the point between the eyebrows. You can keep your eyes closed if you want, because now we're going to do an exercise again, this time utilizing our knowledge of the location of these chakras and more knowledge of what they do. Call to mind that issue that you were thinking about earlier, that issue that you would like resolution for. Just think about that issue, and if there's any emotional energy, try and calm your heart around it. Try and tell yourself, I'm sending this out to be answered, and I will get an answer, so I don't need to be anxious about it. I don't need to be unhappy. I can have a little faith that an answer is going to come. And in this exercise, the answer may or may not come now, but I'll talk a little bit when we're done about how to continue working with it so that the answer can come sooner or later. The answers don't always come at our own request time. They come when the time is right. Okay, so focus now back at the Agya Chakra and ask for guidance from the superconsciousness. Send out a strong thought around this issue. What shall I do? And just let it go. Don't say, what shall I do? Should it be this and that and this and that and this and that? No. Just clearly see the issue and just clearly ask, with great strength of willpower, sending light out through the Agya Chakra, what shall I do? Now, feel the heart. Try to wait for a response in this receiving station of intuition. Be completely impartial. Try to feel a yes or no answer. It will become increasingly clear as you work on developing it. Sometimes the feeling will be very definite, but if it isn't clear, there are things you can do to clarify the response, and we'll talk about that. So just try and feel your heart. And if some kind of an answer has come to you, just sit with that answer. If no answer comes, again, I'll talk about that later. You may feel a few different answers come. So with those answers, if you have one answer or many answers, now weigh it in your heart. Weigh the first answer and say, does this answer make me feel calm? Does this answer make me feel peaceful? Or does it make me feel nervous? Do this with each of the answers that might have come. Peaceful, maybe you feel joy when you think of this answer. Or if you feel just nervousness, then that's also an answer to something which we'll talk about. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, I would not say this is the most ideal situation to get answers to your problems, only because these types of things are best done home alone in our puja room or our meditation room, and not in a big group of people who have lots of thoughts going on in their minds that might influence us. However, it's a start. And so what you can do, if an answer did not come, go back home and try this again. Again, we can email these exercises to you. It truly works, especially once you get an answer, feeling it in your heart. And so there's another question here. How do I know if this answer comes from the divine or comes from superconsciousness, or if it just comes from my desires? Answers that come from the desires come from that subconscious state, or sometimes the conscious state too, and they're driven by our wanting a solution to be what we want it to be. I want what I want. That very often comes from the ego. When a solution comes and we feel that calmness in it, or joy behind it, then we know, and we can never be 100% certain, but we can very much know fairly clearly that that is the right answer. And then what we do is we try on the answer. We sit with it for a little bit, we think about it a little bit, and it'll become more and more clear that that's the right answer. Think of all the unresolved issues we have in life. When you get home, try and just write out all those unresolved issues, because what is one of the things that destroys our peace the most? Worry. We are worried about this, we're worried about this person, this issue, that issue, my job, your job. We're worrying all the time. Let's resolve those. First of all, we want to get out of the habit of worry. We don't need to worry. We can either resolve an issue or not. And that can be a choice that we can make. I'm going to resolve this issue. So it's very helpful to write a list of the things that we want to work with the divine on, to just kind of finally resolve that issue. I know for me and for many people, when an issue is unresolved, it stirs around in the mind over and over and over again. It's part of the mind's purpose is to think and try and resolve issues. And so it goes around and around and around. When we access our intuition, it gives us a bypass to that going around and around and around in the mind. And we can actually get somewhere through that decision. That's the main technique that Swami Kriyanandaji would teach on this. And Swamiji lived his life through intuition. Like I said, he wrote over 400 pieces of music. The music would come to his mind in a dream, or he would wake up with the music, and it would be fully composed when he had it. And then very often he did not know how to write music, so he would have someone sit with him and he'd say this or that, and then they would write the music out for him. He wrote over 300 books. Is it 300? 200? Huh? Only 150? That's why I asked, because I didn't want to. He wrote 5 million books. No. So over 150 books. He would tell us the things that he did through intuition, And it was not to say, I did this, I did that, I wrote this many. He would say it because we can do it too. He would tell us because he wanted others to live in this way as well. And so the other thing you want to keep in mind when you go home is we are very influenced by other people's thoughts. We're very influenced by conflict happening around us. So when we make a decision on something or try to find a solution, how can we do it when we're in an environment where there is fighting or conflict happening? We have to find a safe space where we can have quiet. And it's difficult if you live in a big family to find that room where you can have quiet. And sometimes you have to wean people off of, if you're a meditator, you find you have to wean people off of having to be with you 24 hours a day and say, don't worry, I'm going to be here. I just need some quiet time. And then you sit and have that quiet time. We just can't make the intuitions that we need in loud, noisy situations. And so very often when we give up or we're unhappy with the solution we got or the prayer wasn't answered, think back. Think back, was that prayer requested in a quiet environment, or was it requested in where there was a bell loudly in your ear, or someone was talking at you when you were thinking, Lord, please help me figure out how to deal with this person. You know, we think about the times when it didn't work. And most likely you will find it was not a calm situation. It was not a time of inner peace. And it's a choice we can make. It's a choice that will lead to success. One of Yoganandaji's great disciples, his name was Rajarsi Janakananda, that was his spiritual name. He was a very successful businessman in the United States. And every morning he would arrive at 4 or 5 in the morning, lock his office door, and meditate for many hours of the day. And then he would unlock the door and everyone knew he was solving things in his meditation. And then he was very fast. Everything had been worked through. Of course, he was in charge of his company, so he had the flexibility to do this kind of thing. But he was very, very, very successful. Back then, a millionaire was someone that was impressive. Nowadays, some people say $1 million, no big deal. They're into the billions. So he was very successful, but he was very unmaterialistic. He was successful because that was his dharma, but he didn't live in his ego around that success. However, Yoganandaji fully supported him. It turned out he ended up helping Yoganandaji with his work greatly. But we too can be this way. It just takes a choice to have some quiet in life. It takes choice to say, yes, I'm going to practice the different states of consciousness. And lastly, one of the main things that we all do here, you'll see, I want to thank all the volunteers who helped today. They came, they set up the room, and they'll be here afterwards selling books if you'd like to look at some of the books, or here to even talk to you if you want. And one of the things that we all are we are meditators. We're practicing Kriya Yoga. It's a meditation technique taught by Yoganandaji. It's a meditation technique that used to only be given to complete renunciates. Babaji, who many of you know, thanks to Rajanikanth, he was the keeper, is the keeper of Kriya Yoga. And so his disciple came to him, Lahiri Mahashaya, his disciple who was a humble accountant, came to him. He didn't know he was coming to him, but many of you might know this story from Autobiography of a Yogi. He was wandering around in Raniket, where we've all taken pilgrimages there before, and bumped into Babaji. And Babaji was saying, "Don't you remember who I am?" And he took him into his cave, and he showed him the bowl he used to eat from, and showed him, the vessel that he would drink from. And it's a very inspiring part of that book. But when he gives initiation into Kriya Yoga to Lahiri-ji, he tells Lahiri, this is only for people who have complete renunciation. Okay, when you go, give this only to those who are willing to just completely renounce the world, not live in the world. And Lahiri Mahashaya said, because it was an age of energy beginning, and because the time was right, he said, let's have instead householders be able to learn this technique of Kriya Yoga. And Babaji said, God has spoken through you, so be it. And so we all have the opportunity to have Kriya Yoga as well. And it's a beautiful technique that helps burn up karma very quickly. I'm not here to advertise it or try and say you all should do it, because no one can tell anyone who their guru is. But if you aren't meditating, any technique will do. Whether it's Kriya Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, there's many, many meditation techniques out there. Whatever one is right for you, go for it. And take the chance to learn how to dive into peace, to learn how to become a channel for beautiful grace to flow through you. And the combination of meditation with the ability to tune into your intuition ever more deeply is a beautiful way to spread light throughout the world. So we hope, did you want to have any closing comments? Okay, so some closing comments.
Let's again sit up straight with our backs away from the back of the chair. Let's again practice the exercise that we did of inhaling and tensing the whole body with a double breath. And then vibrate, and then throw the breath out, relax. Inhale and tense. And exhale, relax. Once more. And again, let's try to feel. How does the body feel? Try to be aware of the sensations in your feet, in your legs, in your abdomen, stomach, in the arms, the shoulders, the heart. Try to feel that good feeling, that tingling feeling, that ultimately that relaxation. So again, by deepening our relaxation, we can become more aware of what we are feeling. And again, intuitive wisdom is received in calmness. Let's do this other exercise, the measured breathing, for helping to calm the breath and also therefore the mind, where we inhale through the nose to a count of 6, hold the breath for a count of 6, and then exhale also to 6, breathing all through the nose. Let's inhale slowly, hold the breath, exhale slowly. Inhale slowly. Hold. Exhale slowly. One more time on your own. And with eyes closed, let's also I'll offer this guided meditation. This is a guided meditation to feel ourselves as part of the flow of the universe. Another thing intuition does is helps us attune to the bigger picture of what is trying to happen in our lives and the world in general. And so it isn't just about directing our own actions in a vacuum, independent of anything else, but rather attuning to the divine flow, which also will bring us to our highest success in what we ourselves are seeking. So again, closing your eyes. Imagine a choir of singers, composed of every atom in the universe, each one an individual, but all of them singing together in blissful harmony. In your own mind, join that mighty choir composed of all life. Determine from today on to sing in harmony with the universe. Don't impose on the great anthem of life your little wishes for how you want the music to sound. Feel how all the notes, the birds, the wind, the flow of water, the laughter in happy minds, draw together in a perfect balance and harmony. Unite your notes to that infinite sound. The more you do so, the more deeply you will know yourself to be an expression of the soaring anthem of infinity, and you will know that you are playing your part well in the great symphony of life. Intuition also means sharing our calmness with others, because in what we share and what flows through us, it also strengthens its flow inside of us. So we'll close with a technique that Yoganandaji taught called a healing prayer. This is a technique for sending energy to someone who in need of healing. So again, let's make sure we're sitting up straight. Visualize a person you know in need of healing. It could be physically, mentally, or spiritually. Someone whom you would like to pray be especially blessed today. It could be a friend or family member, or someone you saw on the road who looked like they couldn't use some help. Visualize this person relaxed, happy. We don't want to send our worry, but rather our encouragement, our vision of their success and their safety, not our own personal concern for them. See them as having conquered the challenge, or being protected by the divine light. As we prepare to pray and send out this healing vibration, let's also include all those in the world affected by different disasters and challenges that have been happening. The floods in North India, for example, the floods in America, and other pockets of disharmony and pain. Let us visualize Divine Mother's healing light, bringing peace, bringing comfort, and ultimately understanding to all affected. Let us include them in our sympathies and give them our own best wishes. Let's bring our hands together, and I'll give this prayer. You can repeat after me if you wish. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in their bodies, in their minds, and in their souls. And now rubbing the hands together, drawing energy into the hands. Ask God to use you as a channel to send this light to all who would receive it. Hold the hands out in front. Send the energy as we chant Om together 3 times. Om.